Hey everybody, and welcome to my plus size grandma with Miss Coco So Mean Boughton. Oh my goodness, y'all. You know, I did that first show and I was like, I really got to sit and thinking, and I don't know, something just led me to like look up some of the things I had been dealing with in relationships. And I don't know who this is for. It's for me. It's for me. But I don't know who else it'll help, but maybe somebody. But I just started looking up stuff about plus size dating challenges, because I do want to be able to teach some of the plus size women, even the smaller women, that, you know, hey, it's real out here. Basically, it's real. And I just realized after reading what fat shaming is, and that's how I got, you know, I was studying up on it, and I was like, fat shaming. I heard that long time ago. Like, I probably heard that like on not Marvin Povich, but I think Jerry Springer, or it's been a while since I've heard that term. But fat shaming, I've heard it, you know, bullies used it against people in school, against kids in school, and I never thought about it as fat shaming as to what some guys do to plus size women. And you know, this is just, it's just something how one thought can lead to something else. And when I saw that and I began to read that article I shared it on my plus size grandma reality show podcast fan page on Facebook. But when I read that article, I said, oh my God, this has been my entire life. It's been my entire life, really. I mean, even when I was in a relationship, that was my life, getting fat shamed all the time. Those guys never went anywhere with me. I never went on a date with those guys. And I was in a relationship with one for 15 years. And I never went on a date or anything. And the last guy that I talked to, I told him, I said, I haven't been on a real date. The most I've ever done is things that we had to do at home. And I never put two and two together that I was being fat shamed. Like, they wanted the benefits behind closed doors, but they didn't want to have anything to do with me outside of closed doors. And that's why I stayed in so much torture. That's why it was so emotional, abusive to me. It was emotional, abusive to me. And even in therapy right now, that's what we're working on with me, is getting a lot of that madness out. A lot of the anger and resentment out, the bitterness. I mean, really, honestly, you don't think how bad you really are until you try to move on. And listen, it's not even when you move on. It's when you actually find somebody that you like, and then you realize that, hey, it's hard for me to be with them because I'm a little bit jacked up in this area. So, I studied that. I was just reading. I just wanted to know some of the reasons that other people, let me be real. I wanted to know, had anybody else been through what I had been through? That's what I wanted to know. And what I had been through most of my life was guys who do not want to go out on a date with me, who made up every excuse in the book not to go out. It was from being broke to people being sick to starting arguments and fusses so we wouldn't have to go out in public, and would leave and stay gone long enough till, you know, my little craving for wanting to go out to the movies or something had, you know, just finally slipped my mind. Or, you know, I just changed the subject to something else. And I never realized that that's what it was. It was fat shaming. They were shamed to get out. Now listen, the benefits behind the closed doors, yes, they was getting the sex. I gotta be careful how I'm saying that because my granddaughter's in here, so she's in the other room though. But at the time though, yes, they were getting the benefits of sex. They were getting the benefits of having a nice home. They were getting the benefits of having a good time whenever they wanted it. And it was so many benefits I was giving up to them that I was so busy trying to impress them, show them, prove to them the good woman that I was, that I didn't even realize what they were doing to me. I was just so happy, because I'm going to tell you the honest truth. When you're a plus size woman, I don't know about any other plus size women. I know a lot of them say that they secure and that they don't have no issues. I've talked to several of them who say they just don't have no issues. They never have. But then when you get to know them good, you find out that, hey, they just as jacked up as I am. Basically, they just as jacked up as I am. But anyway, but I did not know that that's how some guys are when they don't want to be seen with you. Because I would be like, oh my God, even the guy from El Salvador, y'all listen, he was, El Salvador is kind of like Hispanic, but speak Spanish and all that. Good. I will say I learned how to cook the best Mexican food around. I will say that. But I noticed that he would always go somewhere, but every day, going out to the bars, hanging out with his friends and stuff. But I was never invited to a majority of the parties that he went to or anything. I was never invited. As a matter of fact, it was a disconnect. It was a disconnect in the relationship. And it was like the only time we really got along and talked was when he was home. But it was never really like a public relationship, honestly. And to think, a lot of people thought that he was taking care of me, which he was helping. But I was doing like 70% of everything. I was the one that went out and got my home. I was the one that did everything. And I never realized that he was fat shaming me this whole time. Even when we would go to the bars, he would begin to play like he was drunk and start dancing with the skinny ladies and pretend like he didn't know what he was doing and stuff. And, I try not to fight in the bar, but a lot of times, it happens. It happened a lot of times. He would deny me in public to certain people. Certain people, he would deny me. And, I would come home and be mad and, we fuss and he'd go stay somewhere for a couple of days and then come back. And I had no idea that that's what it was. So when I got in the next relationship, it was the same thing. I don't know what it feels like, to be honest. I don't know what it feels like to go out with a man in public and really just sit at a restaurant table and eat a meal. I don't know what that feels like. I've never did that before, except one time, and I barely ate. So I don't really know what that's like, that experience. And that was a friend. That was not like somebody that I was trying to date. So I don't know what that feels like right now at the age of 42, because that's how it was always done in everything. Everything. If the kids had a game or something, we never really went as a couple or anything. And now that when I read the fat shaming, I was like, wow, I just experienced this again. This guy, I gave him my time. I thought everything was cool. Everything was good. It was too good to be true. It was perfect. It was like something out of a movie. We have a great time together. We laughed together when we was in, private. But then when I would say, well, let's start going to the movies or something, It was always an excuse of why he could not go. I heard that same excuse for 5 years. For 5 years, I heard that same excuse. And I was like, wow, that's just crazy right there. Ain't no way in the world somebody that doggone broke. Ain't no way. Ain't no way somebody that doggone broke and that sorry for 5 years. But yet, when we was in private, would act like he loved me so much. Had my best interest at hand. Text me every day. I mean, but come to find out, he was fat shaming me. He was enjoying those things behind closed doors, but he would not dare be caught even speaking to me. I would show up at events where he was at, and he would walk by me like I was a stranger. Like I was a stranger. And I mean, yes, it makes you feel nasty. It makes you feel disgusted. It makes you hate some. Not literally like hate, but it makes you, should I use the word hate? Yeah, I'm going to use the word hate, because I literally did tell him. I said, I hate you for what you did to me. That's what I told him last year. But I didn't know it was called fat shaming. And I forgave, and I got over it. Well, I didn't get over it, but I forgave enough to move forward. Because as you can see, I'm still talking about it. So it hurt me deeply, because I had experienced all this before. And I had told him about the experience that I had before. And I think sometimes when we just let out too much, it makes it even worse on us, because now they like, well, if they got away with it, then I can too. And that's what he did. He knew. And tonight, all day, I have just been rambling. My mind has been rambling on it. I mean, it's just a lot. This is part of the therapy that I'm doing. And part of my therapy was to get to a place these next 2 weeks where my anger does not consume me, because I do have anger over this. I have every right to be mad at him and at myself for not leaving in time, knowing that it was emotionally damaging. But sometimes it would be like when we was behind closed doors, it was so sure and it was so real feeling that I would just look over a lot of things. And I hate to this day that I did that. I hate that I did not have the guts to speak up and say, hey man, I already been done like this before. You out the door. See, the heart can be, I'll say, the heart can be too generous at times. At times it can be too generous, and even when you're guarded, the way Satan works is he'll slip in as a friend and be a friend to you. But when I first noticed, I said, hey, when I first noticed this was going on, I said, hey, why you didn't speak to me? I waved at you. Why you didn't speak to me? He was coming off in a set where he was playing it. And I was like, why you didn't speak? What's up? And he was like, oh, I had to hurry up and do something. He had an excuse every time that I showed up. And we work in the same industry, so a lot of places where he had to be at, I had to be there. And that's part of the reason, too, why I had to stop going to some of... Wait a minute. Okay, we don't set out to be hurt intentionally. We don't set out you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes we just don't know when to pull back. And when I read that article about fat shaming, I was like, oh my God, this has been my whole entire life.